The question is that the amendment be agreed to. I call the honourable member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'm very pleased to be seconding these amendments moved by the member for Mitchell today, as well as supporting all of the 5 protection amendments. I firstly want to quickly note again my reasoning for supporting this and these amendments. Firstly, I have my own religious beliefs in what Christian marriage is, but voted yes in the postal survey as I believe in freedom and equality under the law, in not restricting the definition of marriage so as to allow for any 2 consenting adults to marry under state law. And I also said publicly I would vote yes on the final bill in accordance with the will of the people. At the same time, I would hope that colleagues supporting allowing any 2 consenting adults to marry will support the freedom of individuals who hold a genuine belief to express their beliefs and not be forced to act contrary to those beliefs. That is why I'm backing these amendments today. In essence, my reasoning for taking on both positions is my fundamental belief in freedom. On this amendment, the current bill allows for the appointment of authorised celebrants by the Chief of the Defence Force to conduct weddings if the CDF had a force deployed overseas and if there was a member of the Defence Force overseas who was going to get married. That could mean that a Christian or Muslim officer with a belief in marriage between a male and a female only could be appointed as an authorised celebrant without taking regard of that individual's conscientious objection. Being under instruction, that officer would not be able to oppose an order to take on that position. Nor, once they are in that position, would they be able to choose not to marry a couple of the same sex, even if this conflicts with their own personal religious convictions. What this amendment then does is to recognise an individual's personal beliefs and convictions before making the appointment. That is, if before the CDF makes the appointment, they should ask the officer if they would be happy to conduct same-sex weddings. If they were happy, Mr Deputy Speaker, then the appointment would go ahead. If they weren't, then recognising that individual's right to their belief and to their religious views, another officer would be appointed instead who is happy to solemnise any marriage. In summary, all this amendment means is that the Chief of the Defence Force would need to check with the officer that they are happy to conduct all marriages between 2 consenting adults, and that person could then be appointed. This amendment simply lays down a competence check. This is in line with international human rights law. In addition, I would note that this gives the ability of an officer to refuse an appointment by the CDF if that officer had a conscientious or religious objection, or to consider the willingness of a person to take on that role in the first place. And this amendment, Mr Deputy Speaker, is consistent with the February 2017 Senate Select Committee report, which noted that celebrants who are not religious ministers should be able to refuse to solemnise a marriage consistent with their religious convictions. If this amendment is not adopted, Mr Deputy Speaker, here is a potential situation. An officer would be forced to take on an appointment as an authorised celebrant upon being ordered to do so. They would be forced to marry any 2 consenting adults against their Christian or Islamic or other religious faith. Now, let me be clear. As a person who received bullying at a younger age for being gay, even though I'm not gay, and who also received bullying for being a Christian, I do not want to see discrimination against either. A person should be not discriminated against simply because of their sexual preference or perceived sexual preference. At the same time, I don't think we should eliminate one form of discrimination and replace it with a new ability to further discriminate against Christians, Muslims and others of religious faith, who are also, I note, likely to be in the minority in Australia soon. That is why I ask colleagues today to support this crucial amendment to allow officers to freely exercise their religious beliefs by preventing an appointment where they would be forced to act against those beliefs. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.